The garage light flickered once, then went out entirely. Elara Cross froze, the half-drained mug of synth coffee suspended in her hand. A faint hum, steady, mechanical, vibrated through the floor plates. That wasn't their system. That was an intrusion. She moved silently to the console on the wall and tapped in a quick diagnostic. Error, signal jammed. Someone had overridden the home network. Her pulse sharpened. No one could do that without an HOA warrant, and no warrant showed on the city grid. Through the slats of the steel blinds, she caught movement. 3 figures in matte black armor crouched near the garage door, gloved hands working on the lock mechanism. Their armor carried the insignia of the Galactic Habitation Oversight Authority, the HOA that ran every breath of Aiden Spire's domestic life. Their presence at this hour was a violation of at least 6 clauses of the colony charter. Elara set the cup down quietly and opened the side drawer, pulling out the slim pulse baton she'd kept since the occupation days. She flicked it on. A blue arc whispered across its surface. The door's lock gave a faint hiss. One of the officers, a tall one, likely the lead, spoke in a filtered voice. Unit Sigma 12 initiating compliance audit. Unauthorized energy signature detected. She stepped from the shadows. You have no authorization to enter this property. 3 helmeted heads snapped toward her. The lead officer's visor brightened. Citizen Elara Cross. Your residence is under inspection for energy regulation violation. Stand aside. Her eyes narrowed. Then show your inspection code. Transmission pending? That's not how it works, and you know it, she said evenly. Article 7, Subsection 2. Advance notice, 24 hours. Signed by a human adjudicator. Where's the paperwork? The officer paused. His silence was answer enough. She smiled faintly. Thought so. She pressed the key on the wall, opening a hidden panel that revealed a small hollow recorder. With a flick, she activated it, projecting a faint blue shimmer across the garage. Everything you do here is now evidence. If you continue, you're confessing to a criminal act. Another officer, smaller and twitchier, muttered to the lead. She's bluffing. The signal's jammed, nothing's transmitting. Elara caught that. Her smile turned sharper. You'd be amazed what a redundant uplink can do. The tall officer motioned to his team. Proceed. Detain the subject if necessary. They advanced. The first reached for her arm. The baton flashed once, connecting with his gauntlet. The contact shorted his servos, dropping him to one knee with a hiss of static. Unauthorized aggression, the lead barked. No, Elara said. Self-defense. The door behind her slid open, and a new voice entered the scene, low, calm, the tone of a man who'd seen enough battles to read danger instantly. Step away from my wife. Ryland Cross filled the doorway, still in his mechanic's vest, eyes steady as targeting lasers. He carried no weapon, he didn't need one. The way he stood, shoulders slightly forward, was enough to make the intruders hesitate. The lead officer turned toward him. Citizen Cross, you are interfering with an authorized compliance action. I see no authorization, Ryland replied. And if you had any, you wouldn't have cut our power grid or jammed communications. That's tactical procedure, not inspection. One of the officers stepped forward, voice uncertain. We detected an unregistered energy core within this property. The HOA reserves the right. To steal private property? Ryland interrupted. That core's a relic from my service vessel, demilitarized and registered. You can verify that with the Defense Archive. Elara moved beside him. They're not here to inspect, They're here to seize. Ryland's expression hardened. Then they picked the wrong garage. The lead officer lifted his hand. Engage restraint protocol. 3 drones detached from their harnesses, hovering like metallic wasps. Elara's eyes flicked to the control panel. Ryland, distract them for 5 seconds. Can do. He stepped forward slowly, hands out. You know, I used to fly through live plasma storms without armor thicker than a sheet of hull plating. I wonder how your suits handle electromagnetic interference. The lead hesitated, realizing too late what he meant. Elara slammed her palm onto the emergency node she'd built months earlier, a fail-safe hidden in the garage wall. A surge of blue light rippled outward. The drones convulsed midair, circuits frying in a shower of sparks before collapsing to the floor. Smoke filled the room. The officers reeled backward. Rylan grabbed one by the shoulder and slammed him into the door frame, disarming his plasma cutter in one motion. Stand down, Rylan warned, his voice calm but final. Or I'll start collecting fines. The tall officer steadied himself. You've committed assault on enforcement personnel. Under Section 9. Elara cut him off. Under Section 9, you're required to log entry before initiating engagement. Which you didn't. Every second of this encounter is now backed up to the central human network. The officer froze. Impossible. We jammed. She raised a brow. You jammed the main signal. Not the auxiliary link I routed through our neighbor's water meter. Rylan smirked. She's clever like that. For the first time, the aliens seemed uncertain. They backed toward the door, recalculating the situation. The lead officer hissed something in his native language, a clipped sequence of consonants that sounded like a curse. This isn't over, he said finally. You will receive formal notice. Elara tilted her head. Make sure it's properly formatted. I like my bureaucratic threats neat. They retreated into the night. The garage door sealed behind them. Silence fell, broken only by the faint crackle of burnt circuits. Rylan exhaled slowly. You all right? She nodded. Fine. Just angry. He crouched by one of the drones, inspecting its remains. They weren't supposed to have this model. These are military issue. HOA enforcers using war tech? She said quietly. That's not enforcement. That's occupation. He looked up at her. You recorded everything? Every word. It's already on the colony's private net. Then it's going to spread fast. She smiled without humor. Good. Let them explain why the authority breaks into civilian homes. Rylan straightened, glancing toward the night sky visible through the vent slats. Distant lights from the upper city shimmered like cold stars. They'll come back harder, you know. I'm counting on it, she said. Next time, I'll be ready. He reached for her hand, squeezing once. You always are. For a long moment, they stood amid the wreckage, the faint smell of ozone hanging in the air. Somewhere far above, the HOA's orbital headquarters glowed like a watchful eye. Elara looked up at it and whispered, You started this. The light from the broken drones pulsed once more, casting her face in pale blue fire. Rylan followed her gaze. Then we'll finish it. Outside, the artificial night deepened. Within the quiet of their small garage, the first spark of rebellion was already burning. Morning came without sunlight. The artificial dome above Eden's spire stayed dim, its blue tint replaced by a dull gray haze. Power flickered across the district, drones circling overhead like vultures. The moment Elara opened her eyes, she knew they were being punished. Her wrist console blinked red: power access revoked. Then another alert: oxygen rations reduced. Water pressure limited. She sat up, the air already dry against her throat. They moved fast, she muttered. Rylan was already by the front terminal, running manual diagnostics. His voice was low, controlled. They cut the whole grid section around us. We're blacklisted. Elara joined him, scanning the data stream. They're calling it an automated compliance suspension. No names attached, no adjudicator signature. That's a silent punishment order, Rylan said grimly. They want to make an example, starve us until we apologize. She frowned. Apologize for defending ourselves? He looked up, eyes hard. For being human. The silence that followed wasn't empty. It vibrated with anger neither dared express too loudly. Rylan moved to the kitchen module and opened a cabinet. Inside were sealed oxygen cartridges and backup power cells. 2 weeks' worth, he said. Maybe 3 if we ration. Elara's hands trembled slightly as she adjusted the console filters. They're expecting us to break. Or beg. He met her gaze. We won't. She nodded once, determination settling like armor. Then her console buzzed again, an incoming file. The sender, Galactic Habitation Oversight Authority/Enforcement Division. Elara opened it. A holographic projection unfolded in the air, the familiar insignia spinning like a blade. Then came the voice, flat, synthetic, deliberately inhuman. Notice of violation. Residence Cross is hereby classified as non-compliant. Effective immediately, privileges of habitation are suspended pending review. Removal of occupants authorized within 48 hours. Compliance may be restored upon formal surrender of restricted technology and full admission of fault. This notice is final. The hologram faded. Elara's jaw tightened. They want the ship's core. Rylan nodded slowly. And our silence. For a moment neither spoke. The hum of the failing air system filled the room. Finally Rylan said, We'll need to reach the council. They won't listen. The human representatives were replaced months ago with synthetic proxies. Then we go above them, he said. If there's still a tribunal somewhere in this bureaucracy, someone must hear what happened. She exhaled sharply. You really think they'll listen to a human complaint? Not if we sound human, he replied. Elara blinked, realizing his meaning. You want to send it as an internal systems report. He nodded. Cold. Technical. No emotion. I can mimic their syntax, served under them long enough to learn their language. Fine, she said. You do that. Meanwhile, I'll dig into what they don't want us to see. She sat before her private terminal and connected the salvaged memory core she'd pulled from the destroyed drones. Lines of alien code flickered across the screen. At first it was just encrypted patterns, then she saw something more. A route map. The drones hadn't been patrolling their neighborhood by chance. They were scanning for specific signals, human power signatures tied to pre-war technology. Rylan, she called. They're not just watching us. They're tracking everyone with old human tech, anything they can't replicate or control. He looked over her shoulder. That's half the colony. Exactly. And these maps, they lead to storage sites. Civilian caches marked for seizure. He swore under his breath. They're stripping us of everything left from the Defiance era. Elara's fingers flew across the keyboard. I can decrypt the command origin if I can breach the root node. Rylan moved behind her, scanning the code. Encrypted through the HOA mainframe. You'll need a clearance key. I can make one. He frowned. They'll trace it. Then I'll mask it through the water purification server. They never monitor basic utilities. He smiled faintly. Remind me never to underestimate you. She didn't look up. Just keep the air flowing while I work. Hours passed under the pale dome light. The system's hum grew weaker, and sweat clung to their skin from the reduced ventilation. Elara's eyes burned, but she kept working, layer after layer of code peeled away. Then suddenly, her terminal beeped. Got it, she whispered. A directory opened, labeled Enforcement Directives, Phase 3, Human Realignment Program. She clicked the first file. A projection appeared, footage of human families being escorted out of their homes by HOA enforcers. Entire streets stripped clean. For stability, a mechanical voice declared over the images. For harmony. Elara's stomach turned. They're relocating humans off Eden Spire. Rylan's fists clenched. Where? Unknown destination. Coordinates scrubbed. He leaned closer. Can you restore them? I can try. But once I open that layer, they'll know someone accessed it. Then we make it count, he said. Extract everything, dump it to every secure channel you've got, and ghost it through the network. If they trace it, they'll chase phantoms. She hesitated. Rylan, if they find out. He interrupted quietly. They already have. Her console chimed again. Another message flashed across the display. Incoming transmission. Inspector Kareth Vaughn. Ryland's expression darkened. Speak of the devil. The alien's face appeared, gray skin, narrow eyes like molten glass, voice smooth as a scalpel. Commander Cross. Citizen Ilara. You have violated the authorities' peace protocols. Your broadcast last night has incited unrest among your neighbors. We advise immediate cooperation. Ryland's jaw flexed. You broke into my home. We inspected your residence for contraband. You destroyed my equipment. Collateral adjustment. Ilara leaned forward. You cut oxygen to a civilian family. Regulation pressure adjustment. Her eyes flashed. You don't even hear yourself, do you? Karetha's expression didn't change. You misunderstand the role of the authority. Without control, your species reverts to chaos. Ryland's voice was cold. Control isn't civilization. It's slavery with better paperwork. Karetha's eyes narrowed. Then consider this your final warning. Compliance, or removal. The transmission cut off. For a long moment, the only sound was the hum of failing power. Then Ilara spoke, voice steady but sharp. He's terrified. That's why he came personally. Ryland exhaled. Then we use that fear. She nodded slowly. If I release this data, every proof of relocation, every violation, the whole colony will know. Humans won't sit quietly once they see the truth. Ryland moved to the window. Outside, patrol drones drifted past, silent and watchful. Do it. Let them see. Ilara hesitated for only a second, then pressed send. The files scattered through underground networks faster than light could chase them. She leaned back, exhaustion washing over her. It's done. Ryland turned from the window, the faintest trace of pride in his voice. You just fired the first shot. She gave a weary smile. Funny. All I did was hit upload. Sometimes, he said, that's how revolutions start. The lights flickered again, dimmer this time. Outside, the air grew thick with drone traffic, more than before. The HOA was moving. Ryland reached for her hand. They'll come soon. Ilara nodded. Let them. We have proof now. And this time, the whole colony's watching. He smiled faintly. The colony felt different the next morning. The hum of orderly life was gone. Conversations were quieter, doors stayed closed longer, and the usual stream of inspection drones had doubled. Every home seemed to be holding its breath. Ryland Cross stood on his balcony overlooking the lower district. From there, he could see the faint shimmer of the central spire, the authorities' control hub, looming like a blade through the artificial clouds. Beneath it, banners of harmony and compliance fluttered across holoads, even as the streets below filled with silent tension. Ilara stepped out beside him, her eyes ringed with fatigue. The data spread faster than we thought, she said. Half the human channels are echoing it already. The other half's been scrubbed by the authority, but it's too late. People saw. Ryland nodded. Then they'll come for us soon. They already have. She turned her wrist console toward him. A message flashed. Summons, Inspector Kareth Vaughn. Personal appearance required. Time immediate. Location, Sector Tribunal Chamber. Ryland studied it for a long moment, jaw tightening. They want a show trial. Ilara's lips curved faintly. Then let's give them one. He glanced at her, a trace of worry crossing his features. They'll expect submission, not defiance. They don't understand defiance, she replied. That's what makes it powerful. The tribunal chamber sat inside the spire's lower level, an immaculate hall of white stone and glass, filled with the quiet hum of machinery and the faint, sterile scent of disinfectant. Dozens of alien functionaries lined the perimeter, their elongated forms draped in dark robes marked with silver insignia. At the center stood Inspector Kareth Vaughn, perfectly still, as though carved from steel. His eyes tracked Ryland and Ilara as they entered, two humans surrounded by silence and scrutiny. Commander Cross, he said, his voice echoing through the room. Citizen Ilara, you stand accused of disseminating false information, inciting unrest, and obstructing enforcement operations. Rylan met his gaze evenly. We release truth, not propaganda. If your order finds that threatening, perhaps the problem isn't the truth, it's you. A ripple of discomfort passed through the chamber. Kareth didn't flinch. You mistake chaos for courage. The human mind cannot comprehend the necessity of structure. Elara spoke calmly. Structure isn't the issue. Tyranny disguised as order is. Karetha's eyes narrowed. You presume to redefine law? I presume to recognize when law becomes a weapon, she said. The alien turned his gaze to Rylan. Once your species served under our authority willingly. You built homes, obeyed governance, and thrived. Now you spread disease through disobedience. Rylan took a step forward, voice steady but charged with restrained anger. We didn't thrive, we survived. And survival under chains isn't living. The silence that followed felt electric. Even the drones paused in their mechanical rotations. Kareth folded his hands behind his back. Perhaps you've forgotten your place, Commander. The authority permitted humanity to exist after its collapse. You owe us gratitude, not rebellion. Rylan's eyes darkened. We fought for every inch of that survival. And we'll fight again if you push us. The alien leaned forward slightly. You speak as if humanity could resist. Your fleets are gone, your armies dissolved, your unity fractured. All you have left are words. Rylan's lips twitched in a cold smile. Words built civilizations before you ever landed here. The moment hung sharp between them, like the instant before lightning. Kareth gestured toward the side of the chamber. Two enforcers stepped forward, carrying a transparent case. Inside lay a familiar object, a scorched metallic core, glowing faintly blue. Elara's breath caught. That's from the drone I dismantled. Kareth nodded. Recovered evidence. Within this core, we discovered unauthorized data fragments, proof of your tampering. Proof that you are the source of last cycle's network breach. Rylan's tone hardened. You mean the breach that exposed your human relocation program? Kareth ignored the remark. You've endangered the colony's peace. Therefore, per regulation, I am authorized to enforce termination of habitation rights. Elara tilted her head slightly. In plain language, you're evicting us. Removal, he corrected. For restoration of harmony. Her voice dropped, cold and cutting. You want harmony? Maybe stop breaking into people's homes. Karetha's jaw tightened, a rare crack in his mechanical composure. Enough. He turned to the audience. The human pair before you are guilty by their own admission, defiance against lawful governance. The authority decrees. Hold your decree. Rylan interrupted, his voice sharp enough to cut the silence. Every gaze turned to him. Rylan raised his wrist unit and tapped the surface. A holographic display bloomed in the air, Karetha's own relocation directives, stolen from the encrypted archive. The room filled with the ghostly images of humans being forced from their homes, their belongings burned, their names erased from the registry. This is your peace, Rylan said quietly. This is your order. Karetha's expression froze. You how? Elara stepped closer, her tone steady. You forgot one rule of bureaucracy, Inspector. Paperwork never stays buried. The chamber erupted. Voices overlapped in a mix of shock and denial. Some aliens shouted for the feed to be cut, others whispered to one another in disbelief. Kareth slammed his fist against the terminal. Security, shut it down! But the hologram remained, looping the footage again and again. The crowd began recording it with their own devices, the truth spreading faster than the authority could contain it. Kareth turned on them, his composure breaking. This is manipulated propaganda! Elara's voice sliced through his denial. Then prove it! For a heartbeat, the inspector's mask slipped entirely. Beneath his calm exterior flickered pure, unfiltered rage. He stepped closer to Rylan until only inches separated them. You think this will save you? It will not. When the authority strikes back, your people will beg for regulation. Rylan didn't blink. Then you'd better strike fast, because we're done begging. Two guards lunged, but Rylan moved faster. He caught one by the arm and twisted, sending the enforcer sprawling. The other drew a weapon, but Alara's wrist console flared. She triggered an overload pulse, knocking out the drones in an instant. Sparks filled the air. The lights dimmed as alarms blared. Karetha's voice rose over the chaos. "You've declared war on the Authority!" Rylan's reply was steady, almost calm. "No. You declared war the moment you called control peace." He took Alara's hand. Together, they stepped backward toward the corridor as smoke rolled through the chamber. The crowd parted, not from fear but from awe. For the first time, they saw humans standing without permission. Outside, the spire's sirens wailed. Rylan led her into a side alley as patrol drones zipped overhead. "We can't go home," he said. "I know," Alara answered. "But we're not running. We're regrouping." He nodded once. "The old tunnels beneath the hydrofields still exist. My unit used them during the occupation. We can disappear long enough to plan." As they slipped into the narrow passageways beneath the city, the metallic echoes of alarms faded behind them. The tunnels beneath Eden's spire had been forgotten for decades. Originally built for maintenance during the first wave of colonization, they now ran like veins beneath the city, cold, silent, and shrouded in dust. Their walls still carried the faint pulse of old power conduits, glowing faintly blue, like arteries of a sleeping beast. Alara adjusted the dim wrist light as she walked, her boots crunching over gravel. "No patrols down here," she said softly. "The Authority sealed most of these passages after the first uprising." Rylan's voice echoed low behind her. "Then they'll never expect us to use them again." They moved in silence for a few minutes. The air smelled of metal and damp insulation. Somewhere far above, the city hummed faintly, unaware of what was growing beneath its feet. Rylan stopped at a broken junction. "This way," he said. "The old defense tunnels link up with the hydrofield grid 2 clicks north." Alara glanced at him. "You still remember the layout after all these years?" He gave a small, wry smile. "I don't forget things that kept me alive." They passed through a collapsed section, stepping carefully over broken support beams. Alara's console pinged softly. A signal, faint but human. She froze. Rylan raised his weapon instinctively. "Who's down here?" The signal pulsed again, then a voice whispered through the static. "Cross, that you?" Rylan's eyes widened. "Merrick?" From the shadows ahead, 3 figures emerged. Their uniforms were patched, weapons old but clean. The man at the front grinned, gray in his beard but bright in his eyes. "Didn't think you'd crawl back underground, Commander." Rylan clasped his arm firmly. "Didn't think anyone was still using the tunnels." Merrick shrugged. "The HOA forgot them. We didn't. We've been keeping them alive, barely. We pick up refugees, smuggle supplies. Nothing fancy." His gaze drifted to Alara. "You must be the reason they've gone quiet up top." Alara met his look evenly. "We lit a match. Now we need to build the fire." Merrick chuckled. "Always straight to the point. I like her." Rylan turned serious again. "We've got proof of the Authority's relocation program. The whole colony's seen parts of it, but they'll bury the rest soon. We need a system-wide broadcast, something they can't censor." Merrick whistled. "That's a tall order. The only open relay that big is the hydrofield control net. It's tied directly to the city's weather grid. You hijack that, and everyone hears you. But you trip 1,000 alarms doing it." Alara's eyes gleamed. "Then we do it fast." Merrick studied her a moment. "You've got guts, lady." "She's got more than that," Rylan said. "She's got a plan." They gathered in an old junction room converted into a makeshift base. Rusted panels lined the walls, and flickering holoscreens showed partial maps of the city above. Merrick's people, maybe a dozen in total, listened closely as Alara laid out the blueprint she'd pulled from the drone data. "The hydrofield's network runs beneath the main oxygen plant," she explained, drawing glowing lines across the map. "There's a neural relay that syncs with every broadcast tower on the planet. I can slip our signal through that node and push it to every receiver. Once it's live, it can't be stopped. Merrick frowned. You'd have minutes before they trace you. Seconds, she corrected. But that's all I'll need. Ryland crossed his arms. What do you need from us? Access, she said. And cover. The relay's buried under a guarded dome. I can get in, but I'll need you keeping the security drones occupied. Merrick grinned. Finally, something simple. Elara leaned forward. One more thing. I'm not just sending the data. I'm sending a virus, a neural cascade that'll open every locked authority archive on the planet. Once it hits, every human will see the truth for themselves. The room went silent. One of Merrick's younger fighters whispered, You're going to expose everything? Elara met his gaze steadily. That's the point. Ryland placed a hand on her shoulder. It's risky. So is breathing under their rule, she replied quietly. Night fell across Eden's spire, or what passed for night under the dome's shifting sky filters. From the upper levels, the spire glowed like a monolith. From below, it looked like a storm waiting to break. Ryland led the team through the hydrofield access tunnels. Steam hissed from pipes, and the constant hum of machinery vibrated through the walls. Merrick and his squad flanked them, weapons drawn, eyes sharp. Elara crouched near the main access port, connecting her console to the relay cable. Streams of alien code spilled across her screen. Security's tight, she muttered. Layered encryption with self-repairing nodes. Someone upgraded this recently. Can you break it? Ryland asked. Her lips twitched. Breaking it isn't the problem. Breaking it quietly is. Merrick's voice came through the comms. Drones incoming, 4 of them, East Corridor. Ryland drew his sidearm. Elara, stay on the node. We'll buy you time. She didn't look up. Make it at least 30 seconds. The air filled with metallic whirring as the first drones rounded the corner, searchlights slicing through the steam. Ryland fired 2 controlled bursts, hitting one drone sensor array dead center. Merrick's squad opened fire, short, efficient shots that echoed through the tunnels. Elara's fingers flew over the console. 15 seconds. Make it 10, Merrick shouted. We've got more coming! The drones advanced in waves. Sparks filled the air as plasma bolts struck the walls. Ryland took cover behind a pipe, reloading fast. Elara, now would be a good time. She hit the final command and slammed the interface shut. Done! The lights around them flickered, then pulsed in rhythm. A soft chime echoed from every relay line in the tunnel, spreading outward like ripples in water. Transmission engaged, she said. Across the colony, holoscreens activated simultaneously. Every citizen, human, hybrid, even alien, saw the images: relocation camps, confiscations, executions disguised as reassignments. The truth flooded every corner of Aiden's spire. Merrick laughed breathlessly. You did it! Elara exhaled. Not yet. They'll come for the source. As if on cue, the overhead alarms blared. A synthesized voice filled the tunnel. Unauthorized access detected. Enforcement units en route. Ryland grabbed her hand. Time to disappear. They ran through the steam, boots pounding against the metal floor. The roar of drones filled the tunnels again, closer this time. Merrick's voice barked through the comms. We'll hold them off. Get her out. Ryland hesitated. You'll be overrun. Merrick grinned through the static. Someone's got to keep the story going. The connection cut. Elara looked back once, her throat tight. He's buying us minutes. Ryland's jaw tightened. Then we don't waste them. They sprinted through the labyrinth until they reached a vertical shaft. A maintenance lift stood rusting at the base. Ryland slammed the controls, forcing the platform to life. It groaned upward, carrying them toward the surface. Through the open grate above, they could see the dome's sky shifting colors, a malfunction caused by the broadcast. Red and gold lights flickered like an artificial sunrise. Elara leaned against him, breathing hard. The whole colony saw, It's out there now. They can't hide it anymore. He looked down at her, pride and exhaustion mixing in his eyes. You just gave them something to believe in.